The Justice for Aaron Brady campaign is making a sincere and genuine appeal to four young men who have first-hand and vital information about the attack on Aaron at 28 First Street off McLean on the 17th of March 2015. Daniel Cahill denied under oath that this attack took place. He lied, and if we can show that he told lies about this incident, it renders his testimony exactly what it is: a tissue of lies. So we are reaching out to Ado, Davy, Anthony, and Niall, whose storytelling created this appalling situation. Daniel Cahill's testimony is the main reason this miscarriage of justice has been allowed to happen, and our brother and son Aaron is serving 40 years in prison for a crime he had nothing to do with. You have it in your hands to change this. Anthony, you have already gone to your lawyer in New York and highlighted the duress you were put under to give a statement. Please take the next step. If you all have been following our Justice for Aaron Brady campaign, you are now fully aware this whole case is one of the worst miscarriages of justice in Irish history. You all have an opportunity to change this. Please, we beg you to reach out, come forward, and do what surely is the right thing. Aaron's life is precious to us. We need people to do the right thing. Kay has confirmed the attack took place. Mickey has confirmed the attack took place. Ro has confirmed the attack took place. Boys, please contact the authorities or our family. If you do contact the authorities, please let us know. We fear your interaction may get lost. Please find it in your heart and mind to reach out. The Brady family.
Journalism is a very important part in the administration of justice in this country. Justice shouldn't be only done in public, it should be done in public.
We have just watched an introduction video from Robin Schiller, investigative journalist. He states clearly in the video that justice should be seen to be done in public and the media has a vital role to play in doing so. So what I'd like to do with some of the details of some of the articles and indeed this video clip that Mr. Schiller has created, I want to go into some detail on them and we will contradict and again we will show the glaring omissions from these reports, and once again this is another reporter whose integrity we call into question. So the first article I'm going to put up here is in the Irish Independent, and there it is: Brady beat up witness who overheard boasts about Donoghue murder, and it's Mr. Schiller from the 15th of August 2020. And again I'm just going to put up the text. Please bear with me, I'll have to read through the text and I'm just going to interject with contradictions as we go through this passage, and I'll do it as quickly as I can. Garda killer Aaron Brady attacked a key witness and warned him to keep his mouth shut after he was overheard bragging about the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. The assault was one of several attempts by Brady to stop people in the US from giving incriminating statements against him to detectives. So here we have the first line of that second short paragraph there. The assault was one of several attempts by Brady. Mr. Schiller, can you publish or let us know where are these several attempts? That is blatantly wrong. It is a blatant lie. The Bradys or Aaron Brady never attempted to intimidate anyone. And you just blasé put this statement up here. It's incorrect, it's false, and it's totally, it is really trash journalism. And it is upsetting for us to see it. And you get away with it just as if it's a stroke of a pen. It's incorrect and it's wrong. 2 people testified during the trial that they had heard the Crossland man admit to shooting the Garda, but 5 more people made attempts to linking him to the murder. So 5 more people, so that's 7. So you're just creating numbers here that simply do not exist, Mr. Schiller. You're exaggerating. You're falsifying the truth. You are telling lies. You know the numbers. Or are you a bit like Mr. Pat Murray in the primetime programme? Oh, approximately 5 people came forward. So this is a very serious crime, very serious information, and we're going by approximates and just numbers plucked out of the air. It's absolutely disgusting. The Irish Independent can reveal that one of these men was attacked by Aaron Brady after they overheard him making a drunken admission in a New York bar. The witness told detectives that he was in the Coachman's Inn in Bronx on St. Patrick's Day 2015 when he overheard the man telling his friends what it was like to kill someone. The Garda were told the man was boasting about the murder, and he later assaulted the witness outside the pub, warning him to keep his mouth shut. I've seen this man's witness statement, and there's at no point in this nonsense of a statement that Aaron Brady said anything about murdering a guard. So factually and totally incorrect. And again, it's just very difficult to put into words what we feel when we see journalism like this. And we're going to see very shortly now that this man, Mr. Schiller, knows an awful lot more about this gentleman than meets the eye. The witness later identified his attacker as Aaron Brady after he saw him in a Crossland Rangers jersey on a friend's Facebook page. I'm not sure if Mr. Schiller has made any attempts to speak to this gentleman's friend, but we will question that when the time is right. There's just one more little bit of text here. The detectives took a detailed statement from him which was described as highly significant. They also photographed the scar on the witness said was left above his eye after Aaron Brady assaulted him. I'll just deal with that first. This gentleman was indeed had an altercation with Aaron. He had an altercation with Aaron the night himself and Daniel Cahill and two others attacked Aaron in Aaron's apartment on 28 Bush Street. This nonsense about outside of a pub after he stood in a bar on St. Patrick's Day drinking water, changing a cheque. I'm sorry, it doesn't hold any water. And here we go. However, the Northern Irish man who is wanted by PSNI in relation to other criminal matters refused to come to court and express concerns about giving evidence. Two very brief things here. This gentleman did go to a lawyer in America, said he was put under duress to make statements, and wanted nothing more to do with the case and withdrew his statement. So the duress and intimidation, and you know this, Mr. Schiller, came from the authorities. And I'd just like to mention here, Senior Investigating Counsel, Mr. Brendan Graham, didn't feel it necessary, didn't think it was important to mention this letter that came from a legal team in America representing this man. And this is on the foot of Agent Matt Katsky running about offering inducements and enticing people to make false statements. And also Mr. Graham covers up here for, we see a Senior Investigating Officer, Mr. Mark Phillips, who forgot to register this letter, and the letter was lost only for the due diligence of Aaron's legal team. The letter from the lawyer in America would never have been found. It was not disclosed correctly, most certainly not. So on foot of that, what we are going to look at now is some information about this gentleman who made this statement. I'm just very quickly going to run through this now. This happened to this gentleman here in Northern Ireland, and this is what he was found with. A coffee jar containing suspect white powder and ammunition opened and repackaged. Following forensic examination, drugs were confirmed to the value of cannabis, approximately 160 to 320 sterling, cocaine, 22,600 to 33,900. He was also found with a large sum of cash here also that's not on this list. And he provided a statement which said he had found the drugs in a jar containing powder and ammunition in a hedge the week previously. However, he had earlier made an unsolicited comment to uniformed colleagues stating that he was holding for a drugs gang from Dublin and that he had no choice. This gentleman was released and reported to the Public Prosecution Service, who subsequently confirmed the following offences: possession of Class A, possession of Class B, possession of Class A, possession of ammunition in suspicious circumstances. And there's more. Shots were fired at this gentleman's house on the 10th of November 2014. 3 spent shotgun cartridges were located. This was linked to drugs. However, no person was convicted in relation to this. The investigating officer in the case, Detective Constable, has confirmed the following: gentleman absconded and failed to answer police bail and has been alerted as wanted since this date. A court summons has also been issued in relation to his non-attendance at court. The case remains outstanding. Now, these were some questions our legal team put to the PSNI. Are there ongoing investigations being conducted by the PSNI re this gentleman? As above, this gentleman remains alerted in relation to offences listed. And is this gentleman wanted by the PSNI in relation to any criminal investigation? Are there any charges pending against this gentleman in the north of Ireland? And as above, this gentleman remains alerted in relation to the offences listed. So there we have it, Mr. Schiller. You were in court. You know the offences and the issues this gentleman had when he made a statement in the United States of America against our son Aaron Brady. Now the question is, this gentleman still remains in the United States of America. How does that make any sense whatsoever? And I will repeat once again, Judge White, presiding over the case, Brendan Graham, Senior Prosecuting Counsel, and the likes of Mr. Raymond Briscoe in the DPP were fully aware of Agent Katsky's tactics of securing false statements and offering inducements. You are more than aware of Pat Murray in New York going around offering $100,000 and or green cards and immigration status for information. Something which he was reprimanded for. So this is the truth, Mr. Schiller. That is the whole story. And you pontificate, as we've seen at the beginning of the video, about justice being done in public. Please, I ask you, Mr. Schiller, have you reported the full story to the Irish public as you know it? Is there anything I have told you there that is not within your knowledge? I say, Mr. Schiller, you did know all these things and you omitted them for whatever reason, because you peddled a curated and manufactured story. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. We are continuing to scrutinise the podcast created by Nicola Tallant and Niall Donald entitled Crime World, where these two journalists created a podcast in relation to Aaron and to the case in respect of the mother of Detective Garda, Adrian Donoghue at Lordship Credit Union. Now, we have called these people to task, I think now on 11 or 12 videos, and we're going to continue to do so. Now, we had, in our last videos, we had a brief look at how these two journalists just brushed over vital facts and information in respect of Daniel Cahill and Molly Staunton, who give evidence and testimony against Aaron. And the testimony was given from New York to a court here in Dublin. So we've had a quick look at Molly Staunton's testimony. We want to have a brief look now at Daniel Cahill's testimony and our serious concerns with Daniel Cahill as a credible witness. So to that end, we're going to listen to the same little clip again as we listened to in the Molly Staunton video, and then we'll have a look at what these two people have totally omitted from you, the Irish public. So let's have a quick listen to the clip now.
Reading of Irish law.
And part of the case against Aaron Brady was that he went to the States and boasted about what he'd done, that he went on nights out and that he often spoke about the fact that he had killed a guard and that he kind of made admissions while...
Yeah, I mean, there was witnesses produced in court, two witnesses, one of them a Dublin guy called Daniel Cahill, and a girl also called Molly Staunton. So both of those spoke, rather than go into the very ins and outs of it, but they both spoke about Aaron Brady speaking about it, it was described in by the prosecution as wearing the murder of Garda Adrian Donahue as a badge of honor over in the US, because shortly after the real investigation began, of course, Aaron Brady left the country. He first went to Boston and then ultimately ended up in the Bronx. And while he was in the Bronx, he was living in a place called Woodlawn, where there was a lot of Irish immigrants. And he was spending a lot of time drinking in a local bar there. And this is where the evidence came out of two people who knew him from the bar. They spoke about various incidents, not to get into it in specifically, occasions where he had one occasion where it was described he'd broken down and admitted it, other occasions where he sort of bragged about it and maybe had been in a fight and sort of described this as something to threaten the person who he'd been fighting with. Those people were ultimately those witnesses were ultimately presented to the court through the US law officials. So they kind of took the witness statements initially with the assistance of the Gardaí. Now, of course, the Aaron Brady campaign, has said deals were done for these, but those people stood up in court and gave evidence.
So there we have again our two intrepid reporters speaking about the most important part of Aaron's trial, the testimony from these two witnesses from America, and they have told you, the Irish public, we're not going to get into the ins and outs of it, and we're not going to get into it specifically. So they're more or less telling you, the Irish public, we're not going to give you any of the important details. So that's what we want to highlight there. And obviously in the previous video, we did have a look at Molly Stone's testimony and the serious issues that surrounded that event. Now we're going to look at the testimony of Daniel Cahill and look at his credibility as a star witness, as he was described by I think it was Robin Schiller or Owen Reynolds, the star witness against Aaron Brady. And I suppose the best way to start with this is we're going to look at an incident that took place during the course of Daniel Cahill's testimony, where he has been cross-examined by Justin McQuaid, Aaron's defence barrister. And there was an intervention by Judge Michael White, and we want to have a look at that intervention in particular and how we say the corruption and coercion is systemic from the ground up to the very top. So I suppose the best way is to take you through that interaction. We're going to look at here an article from Patrick O'Connell, reporter in the Sunday World, and just going to look at a couple of paragraphs from this article. So this is in relation to an interaction during Cahill's testimony when he was being cross-examined by barrister Justin McQuaid. So the article reads, Cahill, whose character was subjected to outrageous slurs by defence counsel acting for Brady, almost single-handedly dismantled the web of lies the cold-blooded killer had spun in an effort to conceal the fact it was he who shot dead Detective Gerard Donahue at Lordship Credit Union in County Louth in 2013. In the face of threats and intimidation in what Garda described as the dirtiest trial in the history of the state, Daniel bravely testified as to how Brady had, on 3 occasions, confessed to Adrian's murder while in his presence. So that paragraph, I think, illustrates very well the tone of this article. And there's a little bit in it there, we just comment on, in the face of threats and intimidation, Daniel Cahill nor anyone else was ever threatened or intimidated by the Bradys or by Aaron Brady. Nobody, absolutely nobody, has come forward to any of the authorities and made a complaint against either us, or Aaron's campaign, or indeed Aaron Brady. So that is the base for this. Nobody has made a complaint. This idea of intimidation we've covered on numerous occasions is another facade, another curated story to muddy the waters, and it has been created by the authorities, the DPP, and on Garda Síochána. So we can see once again here how the mainstream media is buying into a curated and a narrative that simply does not exist. Nobody has made any complaint against the Brady family. It's as simple as that. So the interaction continued. At one stage, the defence tried to suggest Daniel had been a member of the real IRA. During cross-examination, Justice McQuaid, BL, put it to Daniel that he had been a member of the Ryan crew or the Dublin Real IRA, a suggestion that trial judge Mr. Justice Michael White said was both outrageous and unacceptable. Mr. McQuaid said, "You are a member of the Ryan crew. By that I mean the Dublin Real IRA." Daniel replied, "That is completely false. I have never committed crimes like that." But Daniel did say, he said pictures of him could be found with Vinnie Ryan, but said, "You won't find me committing crime or involved in that activity." Mr. Justice Michael White later told the jury that Mr. McQuaid's line was an outrageous question. Mr. McQuaid apologised, saying he had overstepped the mark. So we have a situation here where Justice McQuaid has put questions to Daniel Cahill, and to all intents and purposes he was saved by Justice Michael White. So we have one of the most respected barristers in the Dublin courts, Mr. Justice McQuaid, highly respected barrister in the Irish state. And with old people like this, they do not go down an alleyway blindly. Justice McQuaid did not ask that question for sensational purposes or any other purpose other than to get to the truth. Now, during the course of the cross-examination, a number of pictures was shown to the jury and to the court. And here we have Daniel Cahill with Alan Ryan. And here we have, it's from the Sunday World, picture of Daniel Cahill with Vincent Ryan, I think it says there, yeah. And we have a photograph that was shown to the court here. And this is a group of people who took part in a charity walk. And the banners they're holding up there is the 32 County Sovereignty Committee, which I think is the political wing of the Real IRA. If I stand to be corrected now, but that's what I believe this to be. And if we look at the top left-hand corner of that picture, you will see Daniel Cahill there on the right, holding the flag with Alan Ryan. Now, this becomes somewhat questionable when Daniel Cahill's stance was that no, I wasn't friendly with the Ryans, I was friendly when I was a child. So any of those pictures we've shown there, Daniel Cahill was not a child. So you can see quite clearly the man is telling lies, he has purged himself. And we have a situation here where Daniel Cahill is sitting with a gentleman here. Daniel Cahill has his right arm around, and in the white t-shirt is a man called Dean Evans. And just about, I think 10 or 12 days after this photograph was taken, Dean Evans shot and murdered Peter Butterley in a car park in County Meath. Now, Dean Evans admitted to that murder and was duly sentenced, convicted and sentenced for the murder of Peter Butterley. And indeed, this picture was taken just 20 days after Detective Adrian Donoghue had lost his life. And during the course of his testimony, Daniel Cahill told us that he had never heard of the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue, wasn't aware of it. So I think everyone, the public will be more than aware. It was very heavily covered in the media, rightly so. And you would suspect these people here that Daniel Cahill is sitting with would have some interest in what is happening to and in and around members of An Garda Síochána. Notwithstanding that, we still have the issue where we look at a picture like this and Daniel Cahill told the court under oath that he only knew these people when he was a child. So that was one of the mainstay of, and I think it would justify Justice McQuaid asking the question. So we take it another step now to when Justice McQuaid actually was questioning Daniel Cahill, and there was an interaction, and I'll just bring up some of the text here now. There we go. And we can see Justin McQuaid said to Daniel Cahill, and I suggest that the reason that you took to the attic was concern about the fact that Homeland Security was at your door and your position in the United States of America was in jeopardy. Daniel Cahill said, if I had known Homeland Security was at my door, I would have answered it. I have answered the door to Homeland Security before. And Justin McQuaid, we had never heard this before. Justin McQuaid said, well, tell us about that. And Cahill says, I answered the door to Homeland Security before, that's it. When was that? He was asked. It was maybe 2 years prior. And what did they want? Justin McQuaid obviously wanted to know what Homeland Security were looking for. They wanted to search my house. And why did they want to search your house? I believe they were looking for Dean Evans. And Justin McQuaid obviously asked, Mr. Evans was in custody in Ireland. And Cahill says, obviously Cahill knew, for someone who didn't know anything about these people or wasn't interlinked with them in any way, said immediately, no, sir, he wasn't. So, here we have a situation that creates a whole myriad of questions. So obviously we have the association of Daniel Cahill with Dean Evans. Dean Evans murdered Peter Butterley and went on the run. While he was on the run, obviously on Garda Síochána, authorities of Ireland were seeking him all over Europe and indeed in America. So on Garda Síochána and the authorities asked the American authorities to go to Daniel Cahill's apartment to look for Dean Evans. So it shows that on Garda Síochána have told the American authorities, we have a man here who is friendly with, has allegiance to, or has some connection with a terrorist group, and we believe one of those terrorists has just committed a murder and may be hiding in his apartment. So Homeland Security, duly obliged, go to Daniel Cahill's apartment looking for Dean Evans. Now the crux of the matter is here, at that moment in time, Daniel Cahill was an illegal immigrant. And Homeland Security are looking for a member of a terrorist organisation in his apartment. Is there any reason in the world why Daniel Cahill should not have been on the next plane out of America? He should have been deported immediately. He is illegal, and it would appear that he has association with and was friendly with and is friendly with members of the real IRA. So there was other information we had at the time, which we would have liked defence barrister Justin McQuaid to use. We knew that Daniel Cahill had been stabbed prior to leaving Dublin. Okay, and then Daniel Cahill went on to a podcast from America with his partner Jamie Brennan, the owner bar in New York, and he revealed in the podcast that, you can see here, Garda killer witness tells of escape from clutches of real IRA pals. And he goes into some details how he was stabbed. I get stabbed in the arm, I get stabbed in the leg, I get stabbed in the hand, and get stabbed in the side. So at a certain point, the shit hits the fan with these guys. They get into a feud with a load of other people, and I get stabbed. So on Garda Síochána must have known that this gentleman, Daniel Cahill, was stabbed 5 or 6 times. They never released or divulged that information to the Aaron's defence team, which is contempt no matter what way you look at it. But then we look at a situation where Daniel Cahill has good reason, shall we say, not to come back to Dublin. Because in these circles, I'm sure most people would understand and believe, if you get stabbed 5 or 6 times and you get away and you get out of Dublin, if that was you, would you want to be returned to Dublin? Or would you do whatever it takes to stay in New York? Of course, you're going to take the latter. You're going to do whatever it takes. So that was another reason that Justin McQuaid was aware of, But because we just didn't have that finite detail, and obviously the information wasn't put forward by the defence, I'm sure, or by the prosecution, I'm sure Brendan Grehan should have known about Daniel Cahill's past in Dublin. In fact, I say I know Brendan Grehan knows very well about Daniel Cahill's activities in Dublin just prior to being stabbed and just before leaving Ireland to go to America. And then we have the situation where Daniel Cahill tells us 2 years later, so he's allowed to stay in America, 2 years later, Homeland Security, ACE, the Immigration Removal Officer, the ACE officer is there at his apartment. NYPD is at his apartment on the 19th of June, I think, 2018. He's found with cannabis and he's found with steroids. And the man is still not deported. Now, we have an article, you can see here in this article, Kerry Bretz, one of the most senior immigration lawyers in New York, gave testimony in Aaron's trial, and he said Daniel Cahill should have been on the next available flight out of America. That's the bottom line in it. On that 19th of June, Daniel Cahill, his feet shouldn't have touched the ground, he should have been landed back to Dublin. A legal immigrant, marijuana and steroids. So that was the reason Justin McQuaid should have been allowed to follow that line of inquiry. Justin McQuaid didn't do it in a whim. Justin McQuaid, barrister for the defence, didn't do it lightly. Justin McQuaid studied all the photographs of Daniel Cahill with the Ryans and members of that organisation or association. So Justin McQuaid had a perfectly good right to ask that question. And then we have a situation again with the Irish press. I did show you this headline here before. There we have it. Daniel Cahill, as I said, went on to a podcast from his bar in New York, and he told us that he was stabbed numerous times. And here we have Patrick O'Connell again doing his very level best to sanitise what Daniel Cahill has told us and something about his character and what happened. And indeed, Daniel Cahill has done another podcast since, and I would urge people, I'll put the link to this podcast below. There's it there. It's The Naked and the Famous Tinfoil Hats. And Daniel Cahill makes a number of other revelations there with his friend Jamie Brennan, but nothing in relation to Aaron's case, but it does give an insight into the person we are dealing with here. I would urge people to have a look at certain parts of that. So, we've seen that Daniel Cahill, we say, is of a certain character. We are saying without a shadow of a doubt, he told a tissue of lies in respect of his interactions with Aaron and what Aaron said to him. And in the next few days, we will release the videos we've done previously in respect of Daniel Cahill's accusations against our son Aaron. But what I want to do now is just very quickly look at what we say is the calibre of witness that Daniel Cahill is. And we say that we can easily link Daniel Cahill to the likes of, you can see here, Garda and criminals, Daniel Cahill linked with Jonathan Dowdall. And Jonathan Dowdall, his suitability and credibility as a state witness. And we say these two men have very similar attributes, told lies to save their own skin. So let's have a look at what the authorities think of Mr. Dowdall and Mr. Dowdall giving evidence against Mr. Hutch. And just for completeness, you can see there, Mr. Hutch was represented by the man who prosecuted Aaron. The man who prosecuted Aaron was Brendan Grehan, and we'll have a look at his opinion now in a second. But this was the opinion of the trial judge. So in that little clip, it tells us what the authorities think of Mr. Dowdall. And we say Daniel Cahill fits into the exact same category. And you can see quite clearly there, just put up that little slide, Brendan Graham, who was defending Mr. Hutch, said Dowdall, a proven liar and a master manipulator who had turned the state's evidence against the monk to get off his own murder charge. And in her judgment, Justice Byrne said, it cannot be said that Dowdall found God and decided to do what was right. She said he acted out of his own self-interest. And you can see below a line from Daniel Cahill's testimony, no, I wasn't friendly with the Ryans. I was friendly when I was a child. So we can see the lies, we can see the proven liar, we can see he is a master manipulator. And indeed, Brendan Graham went slightly further when he said, Defence Counsel Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel for Mr. Hutch, argued that criminal proceedings were not simply a forum where stuff is put out there, and that there are always rules against scandalous matters. So that's Mr. Graham's approach to what Jonathan Dowdall say. And we said you cannot separate the likeness between these two witnesses. Self-interest to protect themselves and tell a tissue of lies to generate that safety net for themselves. So that gives us a little bit, that's only a little bit of what Dowdall, or what Talent and Donald omitted from this podcast when they told us not to get into the ins and outs of it and not to get into it specifically. Well, this podcast or this video here we're creating is getting into the ins and outs of it. This video we are creating, our Justice for Aaron Brady, is getting into it a little bit more specifically. And yes, the Irish media has completely overlooked all of these things. And I have said before in a number of videos we've done in relation to Daniel Cahill, we are 100% certain that Robin Schiller knows in great detail Daniel Cahill's activities just before he was stabbed and before he left Dublin. And I'm sure there's other members of the mainstream media. On Garda, are not fully aware of them, but obviously that wasn't disclosed to the Irish public, and it wasn't disclosed, more importantly, obviously, to Aaron's defence team. So I think that shows us once again what these two journalists are about, and their omission and their skipping over this vital information is absolutely, it is scandalous. It's disgusting, it's gutter pressed at its worst, or gutter pressed at its best. There can be no explanation for it. And I'm sure everyone can see what these two people are trying to do here. So once again, thank you for that. We're going to run a couple of videos now over the next few evenings in respect of Daniel Cahill's evidence. We'll go into more detail about the lies he told about Aaron speaking to him about the mother of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. But I just wanted to highlight here, the campaign wanted to highlight to you, the Irish public, the pathetic attempt by these two to cover up again for the Irish authorities, for Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips and for Senior Counsel Mr. Brendan Graham. So thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment and share. Please subscribe. Thank you to all those who have subscribed. I think we're well over the 450 now, so obviously our target is 500. So please hit the subscribe button and help us fight against those that are trying to shadow ban us and block our social media sites. Thank you once again, and we'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.